just to know the perspective from the last week. If you had attended the last week, and then this week, where are we, so that I can support you in our session accordingly. So if some of you would want to start the interaction right away.
Well, I attended the last meet, which was about building teams. So I did attend that, and post 4, I couldn't join for 4:30. So I'm not aware after 4:30 what we did. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine. So at least, but can you share a little bit about, since our session talks today, majorly about looking at pre-launch, launch, and post-launch plans, that's converting our business model to action plan. That's the topic for the day. Now, looking at that topic, is there something specific that you may want to know before I begin through a structured approach that we can take? Anyone can share their thoughts and views, please. By the way, are we familiar with the business model canvas, and have we created one for our startup? If yes, great. If no, no worries. We can actually look at that too.
We have created one, sir. We have created one. I don't know to what extent that is.
I understand. That's
Acceptable,
perfect.
but yeah, I have created one.
Excellent.
So even I have actually told all my team members also to prepare individual department-wise, each. Though it is like whatever it is, so they could come up with some.
Yes. Are you talking about the lean canvas or the business model canvas?
Lean canvas.
Lean canvas. Okay. Business model you have not done yet.
Business model, no, sir. Actually,
okay. No worries. Yes, perfectly fine. How about you, Manish Bhai? Would you and Rakiji and Krish, have you looked into a business model canvas, or lean we did in our first session? So I remember that we had taken. Please.
Yes, Mr. Swarup. We have, I think at least I have gone ahead and looked into the business model canvas. And as the last time we were, more investigative towards how we could help our other employees and how we could get to train them, and what are the issues that we were facing with having them, and how to be, solution oriented towards them. So that is what we were looking forward to.
Excellent. Excellent. That gives a little bit of perspective. Rakiji, how about you and Krish, if you may share a little bit about business model canvas, familiarity with the same, or some thoughts around the same, if at all we have. Otherwise, I'll begin by whatever I have heard from our other friends.
All right. So this is Krish. We did, the lean canvas thing. We have put all the whatever our customer segments and what are our revenue stream problem we are solving and the USP and everything. And we put it down and jot it down. And then we think, we even discussed about it, how, we are moving, as well as what is the right thing currently on our platter. So yes, we did it. And I think we found a lot of answers there earlier, which we neglected. So I think that's very interesting. So
excellent. Excellent. So I think that part gives us a perspective on what you said. But did you get a chance to actually look at what's a business model canvas and some thoughts around the same?
Yes. So I look at it into the business model canvas, and how we can, different things, how they are coming together and forming a business model.
Sure. How about you, Rakiji? How about your views on business model canvas?
No, I didn't look into the business model canvas.
Sure. Got that.
Is there any LMS that we are a part of, or how is it?
No. I'm saying that generally what happens is when startups work on their own, they sometimes come across these terminologies like Manish.
Yeah. Terminology, of course, yes. Business model, of course, that is there. But I just thought maybe from the course perspective, you're asking me.
No, not that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's begin, friends, from what I understand has been spoken. So what I'll do is that I'll not just cover the business model, but let's take now our session today. Our session actually talks about pre-launch, launch, and post-launch plan. So if you have a possibility, my suggestion would be just if you can take a little bigger page and create 3 sections out of it: pre-launch, launch, and post-launch section. And let's do an activity right there so that during this next 50 minutes, we are able to create something interesting out of it. So let's take this paper, pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. Now, some of us must be in, we may be in any of these stages, but let's now look at that. What do these really mean in context of a startup in terms of structuring it in the way that we want to raise funds? Now we can raise funds in at any stage. We can launch it at pre-launch, launch, or post-launch. Since we have already created a minimum viable product, therefore, here the context will be that can we look at our business through the lens of an investor and how these 3 stages will impact decision making at our startup. So to begin, just that quick reference of these 3 sections that we can create. Now let me share the screen and begin that where do we actually start this whole program when it is in context of business canvas. So if we look at the business canvas, the key here for any business canvas lies in building around a very strong value proposition. So if you see here, the first point itself talks about that when we talk of great characteristics of great value proposition, it is housed in a very interesting and a very robust business model or business models. So what we will do today is we will take that point and move ahead. But before we do that, I would wish that later on when you look at what we are covering today, we should get certain evidence for from the customers in context of the value proposition. Otherwise, what happens is that we may create a variety of business models around the proposition, but if the proposition is not very well validated or verified, then the directions may be wrong. So therefore, if you recall, when we talked last time, the first part is doing the right thing, and the second is doing things right. So right now, what we are saying is that when we created a value proposition, let's get certain evidence. Now, what does this mean? I'm sure you are familiar with this thing. Whenever we talk of a value proposition, we try to look at what does our key customer need. In our case, since we began with Lean Canvas, I would say the early adopter for us, what does that early adopter need from us? Now, what does that mean? There are certain jobs that our early adopter wants us to achieve. These are jobs to be done. For example, in case of let us say that if there is a EdTech that is talking about taking some kind of teacher training programs, then what are the pain points that schools have in context of teacher training? What are the kind of jobs that they want to be done, which are not being done to the level of satisfaction? So those go into the list of the jobs which we can see here. But you see the questions that are mentioned here are specifically in context that have we got evidence for the same? So sometimes what we believe is that I think that this is what my user has a job to be done. But have we got an evidence from the user that yes, these are the kind of jobs to be done, and we have got a perspective from it? In our case, we are talking about early adopters and the early adopter schools from where we would want to get a perspective for the teacher training thing that we have created, that these are the jobs. At the same time, we also look at what are the pains that our customers are going through. Now, in our case, early adapters, and which ones are most extreme pain points. So for example, somebody may say that I need teacher for a specific subject, but I am able to find it. It takes me 6 months to identify and find a teacher. Somebody may say, I just don't find it, so I have to train that kind of a teacher. Now, all those will be put under the pain points. Or somebody may say, I find the teachers, but they don't fall in the price bracket that I'm looking at. So what are the pains that our customers, and we have got evidence for that. Same way, what are the gains that our customers are expecting and the evidence. So this whole slide talks only about evidence. And so my request would be that all our startups, for those, can we get certain kind of evidence from the field? And please document that evidence to share it with the future investors or future stakeholders, which can straight away be shared with them, saying that we did this exercise, we met 20 of our early adopters, they gave us, each one of them gave us these jobs to be done, these pains and these gains, and there are therefore 20 sheets of evidence that we have collected from the field. Same way, when we move to our side of the offering, those were the customer side and their pain and gain and the job to be done expectation. Vis-a-vis looking at that, we have created our value proposition and our offering. So in that case, now we are saying we also have an evidence for the same. So for example, when we went with our service to our early adopter, what was the response that we got? So if you look at the questions here, which one of your products and service customers really want? So when we went to them, they said, out of all these services that you're providing, these two are definitely I would want. And which ones they want most? If we have got that feedback from our early adapters, that is wonderful. Same way, when we look at what are our pain relievers and gain creators, sometimes it is misunderstood that what a customer pain is, we need to just put our offering and therefore the pain is taken care of. That's not actually correct way of doing it. The correct way that we are looking at here is those are the things that the customers have job to be done, pain and gain. But when I create my product, it could be a little different from their expectation. However, it serves the jobs, it serves the pain and gain in this manner. So it is not that we mirror this is what customer wants, so I have created something like this. We go with our product saying that these are the things that we have created. Now, it's not necessary that we are addressing all the jobs to be done or all the pain points or all the gains. It may also be possible that we may be going beyond them and addressing a different pain point which our customer indirectly may not know. So for example, we use root cause analysis, and while we do the root cause analysis, we realize that sometime when we are trying to find out answers at the root cause, there are sometimes those symptoms, and sometimes as we keep digging deeper, we'll get to the reason. But between the symptom and getting the reason, when we repeatedly ask, sometimes we use a 7 why analysis, also called laddering, when we repeatedly ask why and keep getting answer. For example, somebody says that my job to be done is finding a teacher within 3 months of time. So we'll say, why are you not able to find a teacher in 3 months? So they'll give us the first answer. Then we will ask the question on the first answer itself. So sometimes they say their notice period with other organizations is 6 months. So we would then ask the next why question on that answer. And we keep digging deeper into the why analysis. As we do this analysis, we will keep getting variety of answers. Those variety of answers till we hit the root cause will be some things on the way. Now, it may happen that we have found a solution for our early adopter, which may be out of any of these 7 steps that we followed in root cause analysis, and we are addressing that. The customer will not know about it. They may only know my symptom is I'm not able to find a teacher in so much time. That's my job to be done. Get me a teacher in 3 weeks. Now, when we do the root cause, we have found several reasons and we apply that. We may go beyond and we may tell them, I can not just give you a teacher in 3 weeks, but I can give you a suggestion that you may start using my service from day one. We have a pool of people. Yes, in that case, it will be temporary and it will be subscription based. Later on, we can convert it into a proper structure if you find the person meaningful. Now here, we have exceeded the job to be done. We have relieved them from the pain, but we have also given them a gain which they had never expected. So in that context, whatever is the two sides of the value proposition, have we got evidence from our early adopters for the same? If we have not done that, my request would be that just take out a simple sheet of paper which says your offering very briefly, and it's like your advertisement on a piece of paper, and just show it to your early adopters and let them read through. Don't explain anything, just let them read through. This could instead, it could be a poster that you're creating about your service, and see and get the answers to the questions that you see on the screen. That will give us the evidence that our solution is in the right space. So before we move on to the business model canvas, we always test this too. That is getting evidence from our early adopters. So I hope, friends, we are on the same page, and if there's any question, just feel free to ask. Okay, perfect. So let's move on. So this part we have to completely ensure. And my request is that many times when I talk to startup, they say, I believe some this like this, I've got views from it. So my first thing is show me. The moment I say show me, they don't have the evidence to show. So here I'm saying that just don't collect the evidence, but also document it to show me that these were our discussions we had. These are the jobs to be done, pain and gain. Based on that, when I went back, so first part is collecting that. Second part is when I went back to them with our product or service, this is the evidence that they shared with us. So please keep that at the center of our proposition. Majority of the startups are found wanting in this getting evidence. And this will also help us in before we get into, because after this stage, when we start creating a business model, it is entirely based on this business proposition. So if this is not correct, or if this is shaky, everything that we create as a business model will actually be giving us no results. So therefore, I wanted to discuss this before we get into the next stage. Now, when we look at our business, it actually, or a startup, it actually goes through these broad, quick 3 stages. So problem solution fit, which we were discussing right now, that's on paper. Second is product market fit. And the third is business model fit. So when we are talking about product market fit, we have this kind of a model here, and this to the market, we are trying to understand that and get evidence from there. And then based on that, when we talk of getting business out of it or money out of it, it is talking about the business model. So let's now get into the business model. I'll just share some quick thoughts on it. Different organizations may have different kind of business models and variety of them. So now we come back to the 3 columns that you have created on the paper. The first column is pre-launch, then center is launch, and then post-launch. So we would want to create 3 different business models. Okay. Having said that, if we want to create 3 different business models for these stages, we would also want to understand that our business model, is it for one stakeholder or many? For example, when we look at this model of Airbnb or any any kind of a marketplace, let's take an EdTech marketplace where we have somebody who has created a marketplace for, let's say, tutoring. So there are going to be tutors on that platform, and there are going to be children on that platform. Now, when we talk of tutoring, their business model canvas for them will be completely different then the business model canvas for the student. Or when I say student, some may say that, but the people who are paying are parents. So will it be for parents? If it is the school, then will it be for the school? Now you see the friends that the level of difficulty or ease is here. Generally, the business model says that the person who's going to pay for it and is going to make the decision, we create the business model for them. For example, in Uber, we have a business model for who sits in the car like us and the person who's driving the car. They will create two different business models. So that is the first step. Let's understand the stakeholders and try to create then different business models for them. First thing. Second thing, for these three stages, pre-launch, launch, and post-launch, will our early adopters change? So some of us will say, my objective, and let us stop here for a minute and discuss a little bit. Some of us will say that let's take an example of anyone so that we can contextualize it better. Anyone would want to give an example of their startup stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders for in your startup? And who are the early adopters in your startup? Those this comes from your lean canvas. Just please feel free to share, please. Anyone can share. So let me contextualize in terms of your startup. It become easier for others to understand.
Okay, so let me tell you about so this is Krish. Our stakeholders are students, teachers. So we are a SaaS platform. So, and we provide it to educators. We have institute admin, teacher, and then we have students, and then we have parents with whom they share the data. So we have these four stakeholders.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, if we look at these stakeholders, who is going to pay us?
So educators or the educators are going to pay us. So the admin will pay us. So admin can be both teacher or school admin.
Excellent. So there we have two business model canvas, different from each other. The school one, the business model canvas that addresses to a school is going to be different from the administrator. That's the first point. Okay. Now let's look at within these two, school and admin, for the pre-launch stage or the launch and post-launch, do you think it may be wise for you to go to first the educators and then the school? Or do you think we could go to school first and then educator? Or do you want to go to both of them?
So we started with educators first.
Excellent.
We are focusing only on educators. Schools we are not targeting. If they come to us, then only we serve it. Otherwise, we are just focusing on.
So in case of Chris startup, they let us say in the pre-launch stage, we are focusing on educators. Now they may come up with the thought that in the post-launch, we will focus on school. So our business model in the pre-launch stage is focusing on educator. In the post-launch, educator is always there, but it is also now the school. So we have now two business model canvas. Now let's explore a little further. When we say educators, Krish, are there different kind of early adopters of our system that we have thought, like in the lean canvas, we created characteristics of early adopters. Correct. Now we may have many different segments of educators that you may have identified who may take your SaaS for a different purpose. So one of them may take your SaaS for a application. Another one may say, I want to take it for this application. A third one may say, I want an entire package together. So is there a variety of offerings that you have there?
Right. So we are actually a assessment company, and there we have small coaching institutes, like they have like 10, 15 students. So that is one category. And in that category also, we have like two type of these small institute. One is the K-12, and second is the competitive classes or competitive exams classes.
Yes.
So and these small educators which we are targeting are ranges from 10 students to 100 students. So this is the range we have kept it, and there we have two categories like K-12 and competitive exam, or combine both?
Excellent. So now, friends, what we understand from what Krish is sharing, in the pre-launch stage, for educators, which is a segment we have selected, there are within that 4 different categories that are emerging. One's with 10 to 15 students and one the other category. Within this category, again, we have 2 categories emerging. Now, it may be wise for a business founder or startup founder to actually look at all these 4 business models. So rather than creating one business model for an educator, can we create these 4 different business models? I'll come to that just quickly, that what is a business model and how do you create? But first, what we are saying is that sometime the value proposition that is being offered to a K-12 sector is very different than what is being offered to a person who's wanting to go for their entrance exams or those. Again, the same will also be different when there are small 10 to 15 students, or sometimes there are 100 plus students. The reason being that an educator may look at it in a very different way, our offering, and their expectations may also be different. For example, somebody may say, if I have 200 plus students, I need the evaluation coming out in this format. But somebody else where there are 10 students may say, I want a 30-page evaluation per student. I want to get into the depth and recommend things that I can help them do in future. I'm just giving hypothetical. Krishbhai, I don't know your startup in detail, but why I'm sharing this is that the value propositions and the pains and gains that our early adopters may have as educators will be different when we talk of these 4 different categories. Therefore, so what we do as startup founders is we create 4 different business models. And mind you, it is a worthwhile exercise to spend time on this, because many a time these answers will come to us post when we launch. And many startups come back and say that I launched it, but I'm not getting traction. The reason is that traction is not happening because we have not actually drill down to the root cause for each segment. So I hope for our other friends, through this example of Krish, we are able to contextualize it to our own startups. I hope this part. So the first part we looked at having a strong value proposition. Post that we said, let's identify our stakeholders for pre-launch, launch and post-launch. When we said these stakeholders, we further dwelled down and said, but these stakeholders could be many in the first, even in the pre-launch stage. Like in Chris' case, there are 4 just in the educator sector. So it means that in the pre-launch stage, we have 4 different business models that need to be created. Are we on the page, friends? Is it easily understood? But each one of us will have to create it. For our own startup in terms of depending on this whole approach that we used. Looking at pre-launch, launch and post-launch. In pre-launch, who are going to be my early adopter? Are there only one? Is there same early adopter than pre-launch, launch and post-launch? So we segregated that, saying school comes later, now it's educator. Within educator, we had these 4. I hope this categorization is clear to everyone, friends. I think Manish Bhai had said yes, but the others, is this okay? Perfect. So we move on. Now, once we have this categorization and we know, obviously we will know that the value proposition for each of these 4 is different. And because the value proposition is different, again, let me share the screen and come back. We'll have to create business models specifically. Now here, why are we coming to a business model? What happens, friends, is lean canvas is used for iteration purpose till we hit different solutions for different early adopters. Once we do that, then we more or less are clear that the lean model has worked. We have used it iteratively, and broadly we are clear about our offering. The moment we become a little clear about our offering, we bring in the business model canvas. Now, business model canvas is very similar to Lean, has these 9 broad stages. So some of our friends who have not created the business model, they may actually want to create it right now. So it of course starts with the customer segment, the same that we looked at. Customer segment and Lean, we said early adopters. Now what we are saying is we have tested the early adopter in Lean, and I am clear with this customer segment. So now we are clearly defining our customer segment in the business model. See the difference? In Lean, we said customer segment, but early adopter. The reason we wanted to go and test out things and bring back the results. Now, since the results have come in, we say broadly we are going to focus in the pre-launch stage, this customer segment, which we saw from our example of Krish. He said this customer segment, educator, but within that 4 categories. Now, each of the 4 categories will definitely have different value proposition. So we look at 4 different value propositions. And then for each one of them, we work on creating these other business model stages, or you may call it blocks, you may call it stages, or you may call it aspects of a business model canvas. Now let's look at holistically the same. This is where we are. So of course, as before, we start at the top right saying this is the customer segment. Then from here, we move straight to the center. This is the value proposition. So for the first, let's say educator and with 1 to 15 students, this is the value proposition. For an educator for K-12 and 1 to 10, this is the proposition. For the one where we are saying for an exam and not just the exam thing and 100 plus, this is the value proposition. Once we do that, we have these 2 blocks already created. We have to create 4 for Chris. For others, there could be more or less. Right now, we are only talking of a pre-launch stage. Now, as you will appreciate, friends, that when we talk about these 2, now we are saying for addressing this customer segment, if my proposition is A, what are the key activities I'll be required to do? What are the key resources I will need to accomplish my task? Do I need to have key partners? What will be the cost structure? And what different kind of revenue streams can I look at? And of course, these 2, which is coming, is how do I reach these people? So for example, in Chris' case, he has made a SaaS and he wants to reach. So Chris, would you want to continue your example here? Since we have taken his case study today, you may just want to share a quick bit on, let us take one of your customer segment. Let us say, if you are comfortable, let's take any of your in the pre-launch stage. We have not yet launched, we are saying pre-launch, any one customer segment that you may choose from the 4.
All right. So it can be K-12, 10 to 15 or 20.
Excellent. Excellent. So for that, we have a value proposition. Please don't share that because that may be your trade secret. But suppose you have an A proposition. Now, how will, if we have to address these 2, what are the key resources for that segment do you think will be needed? Key resource that you will need. For example, the key resource could be the content. The key resource could be, yeah, sure. Please, if you may share a little.
Right. So key resource will be, of course, content. So in content, specifically the questions, because we are only an assessment company. And then we have the technology to execute those content.
Excellent. Now, let me just hold for a minute and go back to Chris and say, let's change the customer segment in the pre-launch stage. And here, friends, remember, we are talking pre-launch. Don't worry about when we will launch it. In the pre-launch stage, I want to check out these variables. So what Chris said are these 3 resources. Now, we may realize that as we get into the launch stage, the resource requirements may drastically change. For example, we may say that now, previously, if I needed 5 set of questions there, I now need in the launch stage at least 20 set of questions. My technology requirement has changed, so I may require a completely different platform to address in the launch stage. And in the post-launch, when I want to scale up, I may have a very different requirement. So what we do, friends, is while Chris created the first customer segment, the value proposition, and the key resource, simultaneously we look at what would happen to this when we get into the launch stage and what would happen in the pre-launch. So my quick suggestion would be take 3 different colored pencils and fill for that customer for pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. That becomes your business thought. Now, same, let us go further. Let us look at for these resources, there will be certain key activities which we will have to perform. So let's say Chris suggests these activities. Now we realize that some of these activities in the pre-launch stage are very expensive to carry out. But I feel that there are open source available where I can partner with someone and get that point covered. I know that I don't want to do that later, but in the pre-launch stage, I don't want to spend that much money, so I would want to partner with someone. Or I realize that this key activity I may not do right now because I may not have those resources. But then in future, I want to do that. I hope it's making sense, friends, what we are doing here. We are trying to iterate upon, yeah, thanks Manish Bhai. So let's quickly move on. Once we do this, of course, the cost structure is going to be constantly in preview. We are constantly looking at the cost structure, that seeing what kind of change is happening when I make these specific changes. And then based on that, I try to find out that what could be the best way for me to reach this specific educator of K-12 with 1 to 10. Now, I'm sure Krish can give us some more light and would agree that to reach a K-12 1 to 15 student kind of an educator is a completely different channel compared to if we talk about entrance exam person, or if we talk about somebody with 100 plus. The way to reach them is completely different because their preferences, their characteristics would be completely different. In fact, the same customer segment in pre-launch and the launch and post-launch could be reached in a completely different way. So for example, you will say in the pre-launch, let me put out things on Instagram and go there. In the post-launch, you may say, I want to go a little further and use some other social media tools. And then in the post-launch, you may say, let me go for mass media and go reach them through some different ways of advertising. Or let me create channels and those, let me create certain intermediaries who may on my behalf reach to them. So in this case, schools come in, and in schools, who will be our channels? How do we reach them? Or will there be certain ambassadors that we can create who can help us reach the people better? So then the new channels can emerge from the same. At the same time, with these new channels, we may look at different revenue streams. And final block that was remaining is that all the 4 categories of customer segment that Chris has may require a very different kind of relationship model. Somebody may say, please get in touch with us on a daily basis to help us out in addressing. Some may say, it's okay, you have given us the sheet which is evaluated, it's fine with us, we don't need your support any further. Depending on whom we are servicing, as you may notice, friends, in the pre-launch stage will be 4 different people. Now comes the interesting part. Based on the value proposition for each, right now we are saying we have 4 different scenarios. So please look at a business model canvas as a scenario. Don't look at that this is what my business is. Many times people say this is my business. No, I'm saying this is a scenario. The scenario changes with the change in customer segment, the change in value proposition. Now we come to the second part. Here we say we have 4 right now business models that we have created for 4 different customer segments. For the pre-launch stage, what will be interesting is now, can we create innovations in any of these areas in order to change the way I do business? For example, can the cost be shared by my customer beforehand? For example, Dell computer makes you pay before we get their services. When and how do we do that? Now will depend on each startup. So can we be innovative in changing the cost structure? Because in pre-launch stage, we want to make minimum expenditure. In the same way, can we identify some key partners that can make me reach? So can government become a partner which can help me in the pre-launch stage? So don't misunderstand. We may piggy bank upon these partners for certain stages. It's not necessary that they remain with us through and through. Our first model may say, let's work with them, give out certain stuff which may be a freebie to them, but we leverage their resources and partner with them. Sometimes we may want to partner for some key activities, some key resources. Sometimes we may say we don't want to do these key activities right now. We will do it in the launch phase or the post-launch phase. Sometimes we may say that our customer relationship model now is a very vanilla one. As we move on, we will change. Somebody may say, no, I want to keep it the same from day one for a kind of customer segment. For B segment, my model may be very different. Now, I hope, friends, we are on the same page on this. Okay. So we move on. From there, if you see, now you can remember how the things in different models change to certain extent. But this I wanted to share with you a little later. Now, let me share with you one very interesting thing. When we create a business model, sometime we look at this is the way I will do business. But let us take an example where a business model, and of course, right now, most of us may be making certain guesses related to different quadrants of business model. But let's look at this example here. Now, this example is saying, how can I improve my watch business? For us, it could be how can I get my first customer, or let's say how can I get my first 100 customers. Now, all of this that we see in red are, of course, the different blocks of the business model canvas. Let's take this example first. Let's say key activities. Here, the key activities. And the question is, how do I improve my watch business? And the area is key activities. What does this guy say? It says, can I reduce cost of repairing watches? Because cost of repairing is a key activity. Can I reduce that cost? So if I reduce that cost, I can improve my watch business. Let's go to next, key partners. I want to improve my watch business, source more watches to repair and sell. So the idea, recruit so-and-so as my supply chain. So I'm saying, can I add key partners? So I'm getting to source more watches, the key partners here. What I'm trying to derive, friends, is that our statement that we are trying to put in the pre-launch stage, let's say my pre-launch objective is put here. Any of this business model blocks can also be used as an innovation in those areas in order to achieve my objective. So many a times we look at a business model as a static, this is my business model. I'm trying to propose to use a business model as a tool of innovation for startup for innovating in different models that we see, different blocks, in order to come up with the objective that we have for the pre-launch stage. This brings now, some of you who are creating that page, you will see that now comes the next thing is what is the objective that I want to give to my pre-launch, launch and post-launch phase. Now this will vary from startup to startup. Some may say my pre-launch activities will involve testing out 3 different customer segments in 2 different regions of the country in order to get answer to these questions, which I still have my doubts upon. Somebody may say my pre-launch would be straight away getting my 100 customers from this customer segment. Somebody may say for me, it is getting 5,000 customers for these 3 customer segments, which I'm clear about. It could be that objective. Somebody may say, I'm bootstrapping. So at this moment, one of my key objective is always to save upon the cost, and maybe somebody may come up with 0 budget. I have 0 budget, and with that 0 budget, how do I achieve my goals in the pre-launch stage? So what we do is we put that objective on the top in pre-launch and then look at our business model through that angle in order to come up with innovation. Now you see all of these activities, you will see the beauty of it is all of these quadrants can result into improving the watch business by producing some innovation. So today, if I say, let's say distribution, make more money per watch. So create my own online community there. So they are saying, create my own online community. Previously, he may say, I will reach these people through these kind of associate, like you can say, no, they're saying partner. So we may increase, source them, have more partners. Somebody say I'm reaching them right now by creating a small shop or a kiosk that I put up at some place. Here he's saying, can I create an online community for a kind of fans of watch? So they have found a niche and they say, if I address that niche and create that community, I can actually make more money per watch simply by looking at my distribution channel. I hope, friends, that this is interesting, because what I'm trying to say is that don't look at a business model as this is what I do, but we are using business model to have innovation, to achieve the objective in the pre-launch stage. Now, same goes for the launch and post-launch. Yeah, are we on the same page, friends? Just want to quickly ask because it's at 3:55. So, and of course,
can I share my example?
Yes, please, please.
So I was preparing the pre-launch canvas, and in that pre-launch campus, my objective is how can I monetize my community of 12,000 educators.
Excellent.
So in that I wrote, can I help schools recruit trained teachers as one? And the other one is, can I help teachers secure better jobs by way of upskilling? So is that an appropriate goal for pre-launch?
Yes. So let's say these are the 2 pre-launch. Now let us look at innovation. Let's look at the business model canvas. And I would invite everyone to now participate and help out in this case study. We are clear with the customer segment. We are clear with the value proposition, which was just shared by Rakiji right now. Now let us look at, can I create some innovation in key partners? Anyone, please, let's help her. Can I come up with some innovative way that who could be my partner who can help me achieve this? So just to give, I hope we are able to find more, but can it be a group of principal? There are at least, in my knowledge, there may be not less than 5,000 principal groups in this country on WhatsApp. Yeah. So now, can I think of those as a channel, or can I think of those group as partner? Can I look at certain communities that can help me in achieving my objective? One. Second, can I look at some key resources? For example, can tech play some role in this to I produce some innovation in some key resources that I have, and it can result into it. Anyone would want to share, friends, please? Come on, guys. I mean, what we are trying to do here is innovate the business model to help Rakhiji's business in context of uh, uh, how the same objectives can be achieved by in different ways. Yes, at least one answer, friends.
You can bring out all the data at one place, or some sort of a library or resource you can create where principal can access and the teachers can access.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent. So
thanks. We've
shared
created that,
resource.
we've created that shared resource website where we provide opportunity for teachers to come and buy and sell resources. That's an innovation that we have created. However, it requires more content
Yes.
and more niche content, I would say, rather than individual content that has been put up. So that again
Yes.
requires a lot of investment. Yeah.
Yes, or that can actually be leveraged through right partners who may want to use, give out those key resources to us in terms of content, which is very niche for something that we can offer to them. So that brings us to another aspect of how can we look at some of our customers or people who will look like our customers to sometime become our key partners. And can they and us come up with an interesting new revenue stream or a model which is benefited to both of them? Like when we talked about the data aspect of it, the amount of data that will be getting created through this entire method could actually become a very important repository for some stakeholder like a school. And for them, that data point could be useful in future to make certain interesting decisions or garnering certain resource. So for us, then a new revenue stream emerges as we talk, or as we were discussing, community of like-minded people come up with, and a new way emerges, or a platform which supports the entire cause, where it is not a monetary objective, but an objective to achieve certain different benefits for both people as well as society. So a new way can emerge from the same. So I hope, friends, what would happen. Thanks for sharing, Rakiji, for this, your case. What we wanted to actually try
Thank
to
you, sir.
look at is that with one customer segment. Now, my request also to you would be that can we break your customer segments down into early adopters? And from that early adopters, can we identify three different varieties like Krish has zeroed down upon four? Can we zero down upon at least 2 to 3? I'm sure you would have done. Once we do that, then let's bring it into the pre-launch stage. And our objectives in the pre-launch stage can be many. It's not necessary that there's only one objective. There can be more than one objectives. One related to our monetary side, means resources. Sometimes we may say that I may not be able to have a team larger than 10 employees. How do I manage my pre-launch stage with 10 employees? That could be an objective. Second, I want to reach so much of my targets, could be another objective. With those 2 or 3 different objectives, looking at the business model from a customer segment to the value proposition, and then creating innovation in the business model, taking that aside and bringing the second customer segment value proposition, same objectives in pre-launch, seeing what will change. Once we have done that, now we take a different colored pencil and say, in the launch stage, what will be my objective? And there in that, how will my these things change? So will my customer segment change in launch? Value proposition change? If yes, then we make those changes and create with a different color for the launch. Then even in the post launch, we have a different objective to achieve. Will my segments completely change? And now what will happen is that you may realize that if the customer segment is completely changing, it's wise to leave that business model canvas and create a new one, and then put all the three canvases together to create a business plan out of it. Now, this is sometimes missed out by startups, and therefore, many times I hear many startups saying, we would need a 1 million US dollar to grow ourselves. Now, when we break it down, that 1 million US dollar into various components of when do we need what kind of money for what objective, we realize that that is spread over a period of time, and it is actually a phase-wise approach, which is a business plan. So when we do that kind of a thing, we also realize and that what is the most important is the objective of the stage, and not the money that is received at that time, which will suffice that purpose. So it is actually the other way around. And when we create these business models for different segments, for pre-launch, launch, and post-launch, automatically your 1 year business plan will automatically emerge from these three business models that are there. And those business plan, when we again now look at these three pre-launch, launch, post-launch, there are many here on the pre-launch segments, some here and some here. And then we stand back and create a business plan. We will be able to create a business plan that is robust. And that is what we want to show to our stakeholders. And they could be investors or other stakeholders that we want to leverage. I hope this part, friends, was clear to us. This is quite an interesting topic, actually. But generally, how we create a business plan is a very straightforward. This is what the business is, so this is what will come over a period of time. Multiply it by so much over six months, every quarter it changes. No, it's not that. Our customer segments completely change in some time when we grow our business. The within customer segments, the early adopters completely change. So just to sum up, or any questions, friends? Just we'll take one question, or if there are any.
What I just had one input.
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, so I think this canvas is really good and it is widely used. So in the past, from my experience, I've also used sometimes to do the business planning. I've also used something called as CBM, or component business modeling.
Yes.
So as per the industry, like be it either financial services or e-tom or telco,
yes,
or even EdTech. EdTech, I don't know if it has got an industry model, but you can use that same framework and build that component business model. So that will help you dive deeper into the into that particular use cases, and also bridge your business use case to the technology kind of components.
Excellent.
So that also can be used in with your canvas.
Excellent viewpoint there, Sudhin Bhai. So now what it also tells us is that as a startup, there are many resources that are available open source. Like, for example, even in product development, we have 4 or 5 different canvases for product development. Now, which one we find meaningful depends, of course, entirely on our industry and the need or the kind of application, sometimes even the comfort of using a model vis-a-vis the other. But coming back to our session today, if anyone would want to share, otherwise I'll sum up quickly.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Very good. What are the products that you offer, and who is going to consume them, and how are they going to consume them? So that gives you a very good business model plus financial model plus a planning or a budgeting model, plus also, as you rightly said, some startups ask for $1 million. So with this plan and this component kind of modeling, you'll be better placed to also explain
exactly.
Why do you require that $1 million, and how do you plan to implement it, and what are your different engagements and opportunities for monetization. So this Perfect. Is how it is helpful.
Yeah. So let's sum it up with what Sudhin Bhai said. So what for our other friends who have just joined right now, it could be also useful. what we actually tried to do is that we looked at pre-launch, launch, and post-launch phases. And we said, let's create, start from the value proposition, take a customer segment and an early adopter in a segment, see in the pre-launch stage, how many customer segments need to be there, early adopters there. So we took a case of Chris and he shared there are 4. And now each one of them will have a different value proposition. So a different business model canvas. For that, each different business model canvas, we said, let's create a page of pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. In pre-launch, what are our objectives? In launch, the objective, and post-launch. And now with those objectives in mind, we said, let's take a business model canvas and see that can we produce innovation in any of the blocks present there in order to achieve our objective. Once we do that, we have these business models which are scenarios. Looking at those scenarios, we plan our business plan of pre-launch, launch, and post-launch. So I think that is to sum it up. I hope, friends, that you will please at least do this mental, I call these mental games, because these are exercises of scenarios that may happen in terms of a startup looking at a way of doing things, or B, if you can spend some time at the end of the day coming up with business model for a different, I think a lot of answers can emerge from that. And as Sudhin Bhai rightly said, once we use this as a base to create a business plan, we are very easily able to address people. Why do we need that kind of a money or resource? And when do we need the same?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. This was a wonderful session, sir. It's a very systemic approach that I was doing all in a haphazardous mode, but now we got the systemic approach how we should go about. Yeah, thank you for sir.
No, absolutely a pleasure. And I would wish to hear from you next week or whenever we catch next, that how, when you applied it, were there some kind of interesting innovations? I'm more keen to understand the innovations that suddenly may come up when we look at different business models simultaneously when they're in front of us. And suddenly can a spark come about that, oh, can I do this thing better in this way? A business plan will emerge. That is the systematic approach that we are using. But will there be an innovation that can suddenly emerge from seeing these different business models? So thanks for sharing, Mutyan Bhai.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.